Alright, ladies and gentlemen, today I'm going to run you through exactly how you can start and make your first $10,000 in a month with AI brand scaling. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So this is basically my full AI brand scaling 101 document, which includes everything from setting your agency up, picking a niche, creating an irresistible offer, finding your first client, and actually closing that client. But we'll start off with explaining what AI brand scaling actually is. So AI brand scaling is very, very simple. It's very much like freelance brand scaling, but the difference here is you get AI to offload 80% of the work that you do. So basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to be running ads, especially Facebook ads for businesses, whether that's traditional service-based companies like plumbers, electricians, landscapers, or if it's from drop shipping businesses like e-commerce brands or clothing brands or whatever. You can work with basically anyone who sells anything. And some of the reasons that it's one of the best business models to start is, first of all, you have almost zero to very low startup costs. The only startup cost you're going to be having is if you decide to make a website. And I wouldn't recommend you doing it in the beginning if you have no money, since it's not really essential. Second, it's always going to work. There are always going to be high demand for marketing, especially for small to medium-sized businesses. And because of that, it's always going to be easy to make money. Since there's so many businesses that doesn't know how to do their own marketing, there's always going to be a high demand for this skill. And because of that, you're always going to be able to close clients. So this is an example of a client that we previously worked with, where we actually did 1.16 million kroner, this is in kroner, since it's a Danish brand, in a month, which translates to about 200K, roughly, United States dollars. And obviously we didn't make 100% of that, but just to put it into perspective, let's say you made 10% off this deal, which is usually what you make, 10 to 15%, you would have made $18,000 off of one client in 1 month. And obviously you don't have one client in your agency. You want to aim to have 5 to 10, maybe even 20 clients. This was, to be honest, a good month for that client. This is not every month we get those type of results with every client, but it's really just to put you into perspective that you could have made almost $20,000 in a month without having to deal with sales, refunds, shipping, all those problems. The only focus you're going to be having is actually running and succeeding with those ads. So if there's any business model that's actually going to buy you a Lamborghini in 2026, I promise you it's not going to be trading, it's not going to be dropshipping, it's going to be AI brand scaling. Because of the market for it, since everyone is starting their own business, people need marketing. And with AI, it makes it so much easier to actually start a business. So now that you know a bit more about the business model itself and what it actually includes, we're going to get to the first step, which basically just is setting your agency up. First of all, we're going to create a name and make a logo for that. I would 100 times over recommend you to just use ChatGPT. We did that ourselves. As you can see here, Lead Automator, which is my agency, and our logo here, we both use ChatGPT to generate that. But our website we actually made ourselves using something called Framer, which I'm going to talk about in just a second. Third thing you're going to do is buy a domain. I would recommend you go on something called Namecheap. And let's just say you're going to put noahscalesads.com, and you're going to click search. And as you can see, it's not taken, and it costs $12 a year, bro. So that's so cheap. It costs $1 a month. Anyone can afford that. If you don't want to make a website, that's fine as well, but I would recommend it since it's so cheap and it really does make an impact for your clients to know that you actually have a website. So when it comes to making a website, you can either go the easy path, which is going on Lovable, which you've probably heard of. And as you can see, it's already written, create a website from our marketing agency called, and you're just gonna put your name. And in 20 seconds, you're gonna have a whole ass website and you can just customize it the way you do. But if you wanna have a better website, which is the one I have as well, you're gonna go on Framer and search Framer Marketplace and click this link. And when you go on here, you can see, if you go on templates, and as you can see, there's a bunch of both paid and free websites. And you can basically just use one of those and just customize them. It takes probably a couple hours and then you got your own website. So it's super, super simple. Obviously, it's gonna cost money to host a website. So you're probably looking at, I don't know, like $15 a month in total. And obviously, if you don't have that money, don't worry about it. But if you do, I would strongly recommend you to just create a website. It doesn't take long. It's not that expensive, but it does a huge impact for your possible clients. So coming over to step number 2, you're going to be picking a niche. And this is where you have to choose between a service-based business or an e-commerce business. And the difference between these two businesses is a service-based business obviously sells a service. So that's either, as you can see, something with HVAC, car washing. It's basically just a business that sells a service. Whereas an e-commerce business is basically just a business that sells a product online. Just a business that sells a product online. And as I wrote here, I would definitely recommend that you start off with a service-based business, since it's a lot easier to get clients, and usually you get paid on retainer, which means they pay like a flat fee every month, instead of with e-commerce, which is usually performance-based. So you get paid a percentage. As you can see over here with the previous one I showed you, this was a clothing brand where we also got paid a percentage instead of a flat fee. And the reason that you do that is when you work with service-based businesses, you're actually not generating them sales, you're generating leads. And a lead is basically just a potential customer for that client. So for example, your guarantee with a service-based business could be that you guarantee them 50 new leads. That doesn't mean that they close all of those leads. Maybe they close 30 or 20 of them, depending on the conversion rate. Whereas with an e-commerce business, you guarantee them sales. Your job is to generate direct sales and you get a percentage out of that. So I would definitely recommend that you start off with service-based businesses and then move on to e-commerce as you learn the game. But e-commerce is definitely better for long-term success, because if you have to build an agency that is making 100K a month with $2,000 a month clients, you need 50 clients, which is a lot of businesses to manage. Whereas with e-commerce businesses, you can make 20,000 with one client in 1 month. So an example of what these businesses actually can be, as I wrote here with service-based businesses, it could be HVAC, car detailing, landscaping, auto shops, whereas e-commerce is something like jewelry, clothing, dropshipping products, gymwear. So it's basically just, as I said, an online business that sells a product. And also with service-based businesses, there's something called low and high ticket businesses. And how you can find out if a client is a low or high ticket client is actually looking at what their service costs. So an example could be car detailing. Getting your car detailed maybe cost you, I don't know, like $100, which is pretty low ticket. Whereas if you work with something like a PPF and wrap shop, which is some of the clients that we have right now, they usually charge around $2,000 per customer, which means if we generate them 10 leads and they close just 5 leads, we've already made them $10,000. And because of that, you can charge a lot more per month. Where with something like a car detailing business, you would be lucky to close them at $1,000 a month. So I would highly recommend that you start your first client with something easy, something low ticket, like for example, car detailing, or it could be window cleaning or something in that niche. Get some experience with actually running ads, and as you get better, moving on to higher ticket clients. So moving on to step number 3, which is creating an irresistible offer. You're going to be figuring out what you actually deliver. So when you're sitting on a sales call with a client, you're actually knowing what you're delivering. So what you're going to be delivering is something called Facebook ads. So that basically means you drive traffic to your client's business with paid ads. And obviously you're not the one paying for those ads. And as I wrote, this can both be by generating high quality leads, which is with service-based businesses, or direct sales, which is with e-commerce brands. So to actually explain what you're going to be delivering to the client, some good things to have is a guarantee, a method, pricing model, and a contract. So the guarantee you're going to be having, as an example, could be, let's say you're on a call with a car detailing business. You're going to say, I guarantee you 30 new leads generated in the first month, or you get all your money back. The second is going to be method. It's very important when you're on a sales call that you actually explain how you're going to get these results. Imagine you were a business owner and someone came up to you and said, I'm going to make you $100,000 the next month. You obviously wouldn't believe them, right? So you want to very clearly actually explain to them how you're going to get those results. And for a pricing model, this is where you have to choose between a monthly retainer or revenue share. And I would always recommend that you use a monthly retainer with service-based businesses and revenue share with e-commerce businesses. And for creating a contract, usually what we do with our clients is have them on a 3-month lease, which means that they are obligated to work with us for at least 3 months. And you can either use PandaDoc, which is right here, pretty cheap as well, or DocuSign to create a online contract. So yeah, that's pretty easy. But if you want to charge your clients a bit more, you can offer an AI agent that would actually further qualify the leads for the client. This only works with lead generating ads, again, with service-based businesses where you're not actually generating direct sales, but you're actually just generating them leads. And the way that that works is you use something called Go High Level, which is not free, by the way. I think it costs like $100 a month, but you can get an AI agent that every time you get a lead through your ads, the AI agent would automatically in the first 60 seconds DM that lead and start a conversation from the business account. And this is one of the ways to massively increase conversion rates for your clients. Because obviously, if you generate your client 100 leads, but they're all shitty, unqualified leads, they're not going to work with you anymore. You want to generate them very good and qualified leads so that they can call them up and they're already ready to buy. And when it comes to picking between retainer and revenue share, as I wrote here, retainer is best for quick money and revenue share is best for long-term money. So when you're starting out, you probably just want retainer because you want to get paid up front, whereas revenue share, you only get paid when you generate results, which is pretty bad if you suck at ads. Then you're not getting paid shit, which kind of sucks. So some of the pros with retainer is, first of all, you make money up front. So as soon as you sign a client, you get paid. You get a consistent flow of money. So let's say you have 5 clients and they each pay you $2,000. You know you're going to be making 10K a month the next month as well. Whereas with e-commerce, when you get a percentage of their sales, then let's say next month the ads doesn't perform very well, you also get paid like shit, which kind of sucks sometimes. So some of the cons with retainer is as your client scales, your pay doesn't. So let's say you make them 100K in a month and they pay you 2K a month. It kind of sucks because you just made them 100,000, but you got paid 2,000. And it's also pretty hard to charge a high price without enough results. So let's say you get on a sales call with a client and you want to charge them $2,000, but you don't have any results to show them or you don't have any expertise. They're not going to pay you 2K upfront, right? Whereas with e-com and revenue share, they're not going to pay you upfront. You're going to be performance based, so they don't have anything to lose in the beginning. Some of the pros with revenue share is, first of all, you make more money as your client grows. So if you're actually creating good ads for them, they're going to be growing, which means you're going to be making more money exponentially every month with that client. It's also, as I said, easier to close clients without results because they don't pay anything upfront. Some of the cons, as I mentioned earlier, is you get an inconsistent flow of money. You could be making 10K one month and 5K the next, and clients can fake their revenue. So coming down to step number 4, you're going to be finding your first client. And I'm going to be covering finding service-based businesses this time. And in the next video, I'm going to be going more in depth with actual e-commerce businesses. But you basically just want to open up Yelp. So when you get to the homepage, you basically just want to search in the niche that you want to close clients in. So let's just say car detailing, and boom, as you can see, there's a bunch of different businesses. This is in Miami, Florida. You can do this in basically anywhere in the world. And let's just go into one of them. You're going to see there's a phone number here. And as easy as that is, you can already just call them up. But what I would recommend that you do is keeping track of leads. So you want to put them in like a sheets, as I did here, and just put the name, their phone number. I obviously blurred that out, their address, and their email, and if their website and Instagram if you want. And you can just call them one by one and basically just write in the sheets if they're interested or not. A super good cheat code as well for Yelp, instead of actually manually going through these one by one and putting the phone number down and put the email down, you want to go to Chrome Web Shop. So you want to click here and search on Yay Scraper. And you want to download this plugin. What it basically does is auto extract all the information of these businesses. So for example, here we got the first page. You basically just click start auto extract. So it usually takes like 10 minutes to do, and it's going to give you like 200 different leads. So if we just give it a couple of minutes, I'll show you guys what it looked like. So after a couple of minutes, it's already given me 20 leads. And when you click on export results, you get this list here. Usually in the first 10, I don't know the reason why, but it doesn't put the name of the businesses. But as you can see, the 10 next here, it puts their name, their phone number, the address, the website, everything. And you can download it as a CSV file and just upload it directly to Google Sheets. So it's super simple. And in a couple of minutes, you could be having multiple hundreds of leads in a lead list ready to just call and sell to. Nobody else tells you this. Everyone else wants you to manually find leads or use a lead scraping tool, which is super outdated because everyone gets the same leads. But here you can search for different destinations, let's say Miami, Los Angeles, Texas, whatever. You could put states, cities, whatever, and just auto extract it, get a couple hundred leads, put them in a lead list and just call them. It's super, super easy. I promise you, if you actually do this, you could easily reach 10K your first month. But obviously it requires that you actually call the leads up. So that's actually getting to my next point, which is outreach. So there's different approaches for outreaching your client. Obviously, you have cold emailing, cold DMing. I know some of you guys don't want to cold call, but I absolutely promise you it's the best way of outreaching. Cold emailing and cold DMing is so outdated. They get hundreds, if not thousands, of emails and DMs every year saying, oh, I can help your business make more money. Oh, I can do this, I can do that. I promise you, the only way to actually get through the owner is literally by cold calling. And I know some of you haven't done it before, but I promise you, every time you do it, you're gonna get better. And the whole point of cold calling is not to sell the client on that phone call. It's actually just to book a call called a sales call with that client. But I actually made a pretty easy way to just process this, which is my sales process. So you find a prospect using Yelp, which I just showed you, where you just auto extracted to a lead list. Then you reach out to that prospect where you have cold email, cold calling, and cold DMing. I highly recommend you to just do cold calling. I know it sucks in the beginning. I know it's absolutely terrifying to do in the beginning, but I promise you, if you want to reach 10K in your first month, you can be doing cold emailing and you can be doing cold DMing. So I actually made a pretty easy script for you guys to follow. I'm going to be linking it in the description. But it basically sounds like this. So you call up and you say, hey, am I speaking with the owner of and the business name? And then just say, I'll be straight with you. This is a cold call, but I've got something that can help you bring in more paying customers. If you're not interested, no worries, or give me 20 seconds and you can decide. And then just, pitch the rest of this. And I promise you, if you do that, if you just tell them upfront that this is a cold call, you're gonna get a lot more interested people speaking with you. If you try to run your way around it being a cold call, you're obviously gonna get more talking time, but as soon as people find out you're trying to sell them something, they're just gonna hang up. And after that, your goal is to get them on a Zoom call or just a sales call. I prefer Zoom, and use a presentation. I recommend that you just go on Canva. As you can see, this one is not even mine, but I just found it on Canva in like 2 minutes, and you just customize it, put your pricing. But it's just so much easier for the prospect that you have on a sales call to actually see what you're talking about. If you're just talking, saying you're going to do all sorts of things to a guy who's a mechanic at 40 years old, he's not going to understand shit. So you actually have to show them like visuals of what you do. And after that, obviously you're going to close the client. So that brings me to my final step, which is closing your first client. This is the most exciting part about starting a business. It's actually getting paid. I know some of you guys have been in trading, dropshipping, SMA, every business model, but you haven't made a single dollar. And I know that feeling. I used to be in the same shoes as you, but I promise you, if you just follow the script that I've shown you guys today, you can easily get your first client in a week or 2 weeks. So again, you have to create a presentation using Canva. And the most important things of a sales call is obviously to build trust, your pre-frame, your problem understanding, and your post-frame. So building trust with your client. The most common mistake I see people make on sales calls is starting the sales call with actually selling them. Trust me when I say this, start the sales call with small talk. Let's say your client is calling from Miami, where you know it's hot, right? You're gonna start the call off with like, oh, hey, how's the weather in Miami? How are you doing? How's your wife? Something like that. Speak normally to them for like 5 minutes. And after that, get to the presentation. Don't just start the presentation off with like, oh yeah, here's what I'm gonna sell you. That's terrible. And then your pre-frame, which is frame the sales more as a discovery call. This is super important because you wanna frame yourself as very selective. You don't want to put yourself out as an agency who just accepts everyone. You want your clients to feel very exclusive. So in the whole entire sales call, you want to have them feel like you have the leverage over the conversation, that you're actually doing them a favor by working with them. If they feel like they're doing you a favor, they're a lot more likely to not pay the full price, go half down in price, or not even work with you. So frame the call as what I call a discovery call, where you actually get to know the client, act like, oh, let's see if I can actually help you out. Obviously, you know you want to close the client, but in their eyes, you have to look like you're actually trying to understand them. Which brings me to my next point, which is problem understanding. Ask them about their problems and their pain points. The better you understand their problems, the easier it is for you to actually sell to them, which I also wrote here, use it as selling points. And then at the end of the sales call, you want to use your post frame and basically just say, based on what you said and what we've talked about, I believe we can actually help you. Because saying that, it frames the whole conversation as almost like a therapy session where you know you can actually help them instead of them feeling that they're paying a price for a service. You don't want to frame it that way. Frame it as an investment for their business. They're obviously business owners. They want to invest in their own business. Frame it as you invest this money because you're going to be making more money from it. And after you've done that, you basically just got your first client. The only thing left to do now is literally just to collect a payment. I recommend just using Stripe, super easy to set up. And by just repeating the sales process over and over again, you're going to be racking in more and more clients, making more and more money, and you can actually just start hiring people to actually run the ads. But yeah, guys, that was basically the end of the video. If you want me to go in depth more with some of the topics, could be finding leads or outreaching, just type it in the comments down below and I'll make a video about it. And I'll also make sure to make a full video on actually how to run these Facebook ads and set up your first ad campaign. It's super easy, it's super simple, but I'll make sure to make a full video about it. But yeah, guys, that was basically my entire AI brand scaling 101. If you have any questions, just make sure to type it in the comments, or you can DM me on Instagram. It's noah.shaker. I'll link it in the description as well. And yeah, see you in my next video, boys. Let's go.